Hey everyone, it's Paul here, Proteus Academy. You know what it is. We're the tightest crew moving. Not to belabor the point, let's get right into it. This video was inspired by a Reddit post I saw, and it was not a debate Reddit post. It was actually about guitar. And I've been trying to get a lot better at guitar lately. Been really working on it. Got really into the band Polyphia and the guitarist Tim Henson, and I found his stuff really inspiring, and it kind of motivated me to get better at guitar and to really buckle down and get back into practicing for, hours with a metronome or whatever. And I find in my life that when I do that, it tends to bleed over into other elements in my life. And so sort of simultaneously with that, and maybe it's actually reverse cause, and me being interested in debate made me want to start focusing on guitar or whatever it might be. I've been doing more debate work and working on that sort of stuff. And this video, truthfully, is not so much for the Proteus folks. I hope it helps you. But I'm really making this video because I have a lot of students. I have former students. I have student-adjacent folk, as I kind of think of them. Matt Hatomi, shout out. And some of them really do want to be very, very good at debate. Excellent at debate, which is sort of like the level I would think of, right? And when I say excellent at debate, I mean if you were talking about national rankings, right? And we'll use the NPTE because that is the national ranking, whether it's whatever, right? Like being like a top 5 team in the country and having that feel legitimate and people kind of respect that, right? Because obviously it's possible to get to the top 5 and have gone to garbage tournaments or whatever and blah, 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 blah. But being ranked very high, being a top 10 or so debater in the country, top 5 or so team in the country, people thinking you're good. And what that really means is most of the time, and not like 50% most of the time, we're talking 80 to 90% most of the time. If you walk into a tournament, the expectation should be you go 5-1 or 6-0, and you are going to make it to at least semifinals, right? And obviously there's weird things with judges, but truly the really, really best teams in the country, most of the time if they go to a tournament, the perception is they should be in finals, they should win this tournament. But that doesn't always happen. It's very rare that a team wins like every single round or whatever. In fact, it's just about impossible. And I like to think that I was at that level during my competitive time. I think the results speak for themselves. And I can't speak for whether or not other people feel that way about my level of competency or whatever it was. But in the same way I can't speak for their perception of me, I can't speak for how they got to that level, but I can tell you in my own experience and from experience of having talked to some of those people and observed people trying to achieve success at a very high level or who are very successful, that there's kind of a question that you have to ask yourself, or that I would ask of you if you're one of my students, former students, etc. Matt, did you get better at debate today? And kind of connected to that question, or follow-up, I suppose, is how did you get better at debate today? And I am not asking the question, did you work on debate today? Because it is not the same thing. And what you think of as work may not be work. It might be like debate work adjacent, as Scott Phillips said in that sick post on the best debate blog information resource in the goddamn world. Every time I read that blog, I'm like, God, do I even want to make a Proteus video? It's just so much smarter than me. With that said, though, if you right now, in today's date is June 20th, it's the off season, right? For everyone. And in theory, I believe high school's done. I could be wrong. I don't know. But college is certainly done. College finishes in like March, April at the latest. And that means season's well over for just about every college in the country, if not every college in the country. School is out. And the season and tournaments will not start until August at the earliest, more likely September for a lot of folks. And I am not a competitor anymore. I have very little incentive other than just sort of my interest in, I suppose it could help with coaching, to get better at debate as a competitor, but I think kind of the skill sets are a little bit different there. I don't get any trophies like ever again for getting better, but I got better at debate yesterday. And I got better at the debate the day before that. And the day before that was my wife's birthday, right? Where I spent a bunch of time, obviously, with her. But I still got better at debate. Like, I spent significant amounts of time thinking about and improving my understanding and taking notes on debate. And because I have already been very good at debate, I kind of understand that process. And I can, this is such a weird way of describing it, almost feel when I've improved at debate, right? Like, it feels objective rather than subjective. Like, I know in some way that I am better at this skill, I understand this thing better, I have a better knowledge, I see how this interacts better, etc. And I think that's a very important part of getting better at debate that people should develop, and maybe I'll talk about that someday, but it's so sort of personal and hard to describe that it might be difficult. But back to the broader point, I'm a coach. I haven't competed in years. I'm never gonna compete again unless I join the Pro SDA. Shout out to Blake. There's your free sponsorship. But I got better at debate. And if you're telling me you genuinely want to be one of the best debaters in the country, or even more than that, you want to win the national championship, right? Like, be the best debater, obviously. Straight up, I think if you win the national championship, you just, like, are the best debater, so whatever. Like, you know, that's just kind of how we measure it, but obviously there's disagreements, judging is subjective, etc., etc., etc. But if that's your goal, and you're a competitor, and you didn't get better at debate yesterday, what on earth are you doing with your life and time? Because yes, it's summer, and yes, maybe it's, you know, today's Father's Day, for instance, and, you know, there's all those kinds of things. But if what you're telling me is your goal is to get so good at debate that it is undeniable that you're one of the 10 or so best people in the country at your format, you don't get summers off. You don't get winters off. You don't get birthdays off. This is a bit of an exaggeration. Obviously, take days for wellness, whatever it is. But the broader point is, if you don't work today, that's not a huge deal. But if you don't work today and you don't work tomorrow, that's starting to become a problem. And every time you miss a day, what ultimately happens is that over any significant period of time, you're not making significant progress. And that's a huge, huge problem. Because you will plateau, other people will likely improve, and you'll be surprised at the end of the year that all of a sudden this team that no one thought anything of is the shit, right? That definitely happened when I was a senior, right? Like, you know, with various teams. And so it's just certainly the case. And I'm all about team, like, personal accountability and whatnot. And so if you're really telling me that all you want to do is win, I don't know how that can be true if you aren't working today, right now, if you're not thinking about something. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be something. And again, I really do want to clarify that it's not just doing something related to debate is not getting better. Watching a video, watching a round is not getting better at debate. Flowing that round isn't even necessarily getting better at debate. Unless you think about what is happening, try and analyze the distinctions between yourself and that person. What are they doing better than I am? What are my weaknesses, and how can I take this into my style and improve it? What does this speak to the meta? Where do I need to move if I want to counter that meta or to function under that meta, and things like that? Watching a video, even this video, is not making you better at debate. And if you are telling yourself that this is your work for the day, you are lying. So, if you're my student, if you're a former student, and if your goal is to be the best, to be very good, you've got to ask yourself, or you've got to find someone who will hold you accountable and ask you, did you get better at debate today? And how did you do it? And if you don't care about winning, that's fine. Don't bother with any of this. But if you do, it is the only way. The only way I know to get really good at something is to throw yourself into it and to dedicate huge amounts of time to it. That's all I had for you today. That's not very fun. There's no slides or whatever. Just wanted to get a video out there. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I hope that's useful for some of you. And if not, fuck off.